What is going on, everybody? Sports Expert here, and we are here with our Week 5 NFL Power Rankings. And before we start the video, please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Turn on the post notification bell for new videos. Hit the like button. Comment what you think. Comment what you would change. Liking and commenting helps us in the algorithm. Would appreciate that very much. Helps the channel out. Helps the NFL community around. So yeah, let's get into these power rankings. As at 32, we have the 0-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jaguars are 0-4, coming off a 24-20 loss at the Houston Texans. Everything's still out of sorts. Doug Peterson just seemed out of sorts and confused at his post-game presser. The Jags, they were up 20-17 in the fourth quarter, and they had a chance to drive down the field and seal the deal, but they weren't able to do so. The Texans were able to win the game with 18 seconds left. May I dare you to score? Yeah, he got the game-winning touchdown for the Texans. And the Jacksonville Jaguars just, they're just not playing good football, and there's no confidence around that team right now. It's just a mess. At 31, we have the Tennessee Titans. They play Monday Night Football versus the Miami Dolphins. And, yeah, they're 0-3 right now. That's why they're at 31. Will Levis hasn't played well. The defense has been up and down at times. It's still okay, led by Jeffrey Simmons, but definitely not to what Titans fans had hoped, as they are now 0-3. At 30, we have the New England Patriots. They are coming off a 30-13 loss at the San Francisco 49ers. So Jacoby Brissett just didn't look good once again. Patriots are banged up on the offensive line. They're kind of just out of sorts right now and don't have a lot of talent on the offense. Their defense really can't do it all, especially when they don't have much time to rest off the field, as the Patriots offense usually goes 3 and out or has quick drives. So it's just one of those things where the Patriots got to work out some things, but with the lack of talent, it's going to be tricky. At 29, we have the Miami Dolphins, and they are coming off they have a Monday Night Football game tomorrow versus the Tennessee Titans, but they're coming off that 24-3 loss against the Seattle Seahawks from last week. Tyler Huntley will be starting in this game, also nicknamed as Snoop. He was with the Browns preseason roster and the Ravens practice squad, but he's now starting for the Dolphins as Skylar Thompson is out due to injury. To be fair, Skylar Thompson really injured. I think at the end of the day, I think it's more just them preferring Huntley at this point rather than Skylar Thompson, and it would make sense. Skylar Thompson just hasn't shown anything for the Dolphins, and there's just no rhythm with him. Might as well give Tyler Huntley, who has more experience, an opportunity. At 28, we have the Carolina Panthers. They are coming off a 34-24 loss at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. The offense looked like it had some momentum there for a second. It looked like the Panthers had a chance to come back, but the Bengals were able to milk some clock, and the Panthers weren't able to do so. Andy Dalton started the game off kind of slow, picked it up, but it wasn't enough for the Panthers. A lot of drop passes today, especially from Xavier Legette and Jonathan Mingo, although both did make solid plays today for this team. At 27, we have the Cleveland Browns coming off a 20-16 loss on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Browns just look out of sorts right now. Deshaun Watson still doesn't look good. The offensive line is arguably the worst in football. The defense has been up and down at times. They're just getting beat in zone coverage. It's just one of those things where the Browns just aren't executing well. The coaching hasn't been pinpoint, so they're going to struggle, and Deshaun Watson hasn't shown why he can be the guy in Cleveland for the foreseeable future. $230 million man, back-to-back losses to the Giants and Raiders. Just unacceptable there. At 26, we have the New York Giants coming off a 20-15 loss on Thursday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. The New York Giants actually played a decent game, very physical game, but the offense just couldn't get into a rhythm at all. They kicked 5 field goals, but no touchdowns. Daniel Jones couldn't punch it in the end zone. The running game really wasn't as efficient as it should be, although they don't really have much of a running game, so it's not much of a surprise. But the Giants are going to have to clean things up on offense because that defense has some life to it. At 25, we have the Las Vegas Raiders coming off that 20-16 win against the Cleveland Browns. DJ Turner made a nice impact today for the Raiders, undrafted free agent. Then you had Gardner Minshew. He was able to make some plays here and there, although it wasn't terrific. The run game was the best it's been all season long. They were able to run it down the Browns' throats a couple drives, and that was the difference for the Raiders. At 24, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. They are coming off a 17-10 tough loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were up 10-0 in the first quarter, but just weren't able to get anything going on offense. The Chargers, they're 2-2, but their wins are against the Panthers and the Raiders, so nothing too impressive there. Justin Herbert was pretty frustrated today, but they played a pretty good game considering they were missing a lot of guys against the Kansas City Chiefs, so give them some credit there. At 23, we have the Los Angeles Rams. They're coming off a 24-18 loss against the Chicago Bears. I know they beat the San Francisco 49ers, but it was only a matter of time until the Rams' injuries were going to catch up with them. They're lucky they're not 0-4 right now. The 49ers kind of choked that game away last week, so Sean McVay's team needs to get back on track quick despite the injuries. Puka Nacua is expected to be out another month, and Cooper Kupp another 1 or 2 games, so not ideal if they want to get put foot back on the pedal. At 22, we have the Arizona Cardinals coming off a really disappointing 42-14 loss at the Washington Commanders. Offense was disappointing. Defense was even worse. There's not a lot to say about Jonathan Gannon's team. Had high hopes for Jonathan Gannon coming into the season, but it just hasn't been an ideal start. Kyler Murray's not playing bad football, but the help around him hasn't been the greatest. The Washington Commanders look like a very solid football team. The Cardinals just weren't able to catch up. They were outcoached, outplayed. At 21, we have the Chicago Bears. They are coming off a really nice 24-18 win against the Los Angeles Rams. The running game was able to get going. DeAndre Swift had his best game as a Chicago Bear. Shane Waldron, their players apparently went to Shane Waldron, had a meeting with him to make some adjustments with the offense. Told him to be more aggressive. And his aggression wasn't absolutely night and day, but he found ways to be more innovative with the offense, and it definitely worked against the underrated Rams defense. So give the Bears credit there. They were able to do the job at home and are now 2-2. At 20, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and they are coming off a really nice 27-24 win at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anthony Richardson got hurt in this game. He hurt his hip. He was out due to a mutual precautionary reason, as both Richardson and the Colts had agreed to keep him out the rest of the game, but it does sound like he's not going to miss any time, even though he is sore. Joe Flacco stepped in and played pretty well. He's a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. Don't know why the Cleveland Browns got rid of him, but the Indianapolis Colts are enjoying Joe Flacco as he's able to beat the Browns' rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 27-24. Shane Steichen coached a really good game, and that was the difference there. They didn't play amazing in the second half, but they were able to hold on. At 19, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They're coming off that 20-15 win on Thursday Night Football against the Giants. With the way they're playing, you would think they would be lower on this list, but the Cowboys still have some upside. They still have a lot of talent. They still have an experienced coaching staff, so that's something that could get them over the hump. But Dak Prescott's going to have to be better. He's going to have to be more precise with his progressions down the field, so the Cowboys want to make a run this season. They have to make some adjustments with the coaching staff, although there is experience there. It hasn't been the most ideal experience. And they are missing DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons for the next 4 weeks, it looks like. At least for Lawrence. Parsons may miss a game or two, but not ideal there. They're going to need some guys to step up. At 18, we have the New York Jets coming off a 10-9 loss at home against the Denver Broncos. Offense wasn't able to find anything today. Aaron Rodgers, just not an ideal football game. The Jets now have 2 wins against the 0-3 Titans and the 1-3 struggling Patriots. So, and now they've lost games to the 49ers and the Broncos. So the Jets have been very up and down this year, more down than up, honestly. They're going to need to clean things up or Robert Saleh could be on the hot seat. Breece Hall's had a disappointing season overall. Drafted him in some fantasy leagues. So, hot commodity. At 17, we have the New Orleans Saints. They are coming off a disappointing loss at the Atlanta Falcons. Younghoe Koo was able to make the game-winning field goal against them. It just felt like Dennis Allen didn't make the adjustments needed to win this game for the Saints. Although they played competitively till the end, they had the lead until Younghoe Koo made that game-winning field goal to win it 26-24 for the Falcons. Derek Carr had a really good first 2 games, but at the same time, we know what type of quarterback he is. He's not the most consistent in the world. He's never going to be elite. So the Saints, they're a 8-9 win team, likely, once again. And, yeah. At 16, we have the Cincinnati Bengals coming off a 34-24 win against the Carolina Panthers. The defense still looks really poor. Defense still doesn't look great. They did get some stops here and there, which were huge, but it still doesn't look like the most ideal defense out there. Joe Burrow's playing very well, though. The Bengals, I have no concern with their offense. The running game was able to get it going. I like Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Not the biggest household names, but definitely a serviceable duo. At 15, we have the Denver Broncos, and they're coming off that 10-9 win against the New York Jets. Vance Joseph might be coaching the best defense in the NFL right now. The Broncos look legit on the defensive side of the ball. They look hungry, led by Patrick Surtain, Zach Allen, PJ Locke, Nick Benito. Those are guys stepping up this season. And with the loss of Alex Singleton, they're going to need those guys to continue to step up. Singleton, one of their leading tacklers, torn ACL last week. He played the rest of the game against the Bucs, which was very impressive, but the Broncos are going to need some improvement from the offense if they're going to keep this up. Bo Nix had 60 passing yards on over 25 attempts, so that's not ideal. But Sean Payton is the type of coach that can definitely work through it with Bo. They're going to need him to throw the ball down the field more. That's a coaching thing, and they need it to happen more. At 14, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. They're coming off a pretty tough loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road, 33-16. They didn't have A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith in this game, so that's not ideal. Brown was scheduled to only miss 1 to 2 games. He got hurt in practice a few weeks ago, but he's now missed 3 games, and the Eagles are just going to have to stay afloat without Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. You're going to have to hope Devontae Smith can clear the concussion protocol by next game. They actually... Never mind. The Buccaneers had some injuries too on defense, but just wasn't enough for the Eagles to get anything going with a depleted offense. Nick Sirianni is going to have some questions to answer. At 13, we have the Atlanta Falcons coming off that 26-24 win against the New Orleans Saints. We talked about Younghoe Koo, how important that kick was for him. So that was actually his career-long 58 yards. He never made a 58-plus yarder despite being one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history. So surprised he never really got that opportunity. But here we are now. As the Atlanta Falcons, they are now 2-2, have a couple nice wins on the season. They lost a close one at home against the Chiefs, and they lost a close one at home against the Steelers. So they don't look too bad, but obviously there are things to improve still, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But if you can clean that up, you got a dang good football team. At 12, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are 3-1, coming off a 27-24 loss against the Indianapolis Colts. It was a sloppy start from the beginning. James Daniels, one of their top offensive linemen, got hurt. Mason McCormick started today. So the Steelers are a little bit the former South Dakota Jack Rabbit rookie. I believe he was a 4th-round rookie, maybe 5th round. But the Steelers are a bit banged up on the offensive line. So Justin Fields is going to have to, persevere a bit in this situation. And Mike Tomlin's going to have to make some adjustments as the Pittsburgh Steelers, just not really much to say, but, sorry, there was something going on. I don't know if you guys heard that, but yeah. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're 3-1, solid start to the season nonetheless. I don't think anyone expected them to be 3-1, but the defense still looks okay. They look much better in the second half. You still have TJ Watt leading that defense, even though Alex Highsmith is out. So that's going to be could be an issue. They do have an interesting matchup against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. At 11, we have the Green Bay Packers, and they are coming off a tough 31-22 loss at home against the Minnesota Vikings. They're just not the same team at home without Aaron Rodgers. Even though Jordan Love is a very talented individual, interceptions are still an issue, and although they were only down 6 at one point, they still looked pretty poor overall, and they were getting blown out at one point. They were down 28-0, and the Green Bay Packers are going to have to clean things up, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It just feels like players are just getting a bit lazy, and Jeff Hafley just isn't doing his job. At 10, we have the San Francisco 49ers coming off a blowout win, 30-13 at home against the Patriots. Defense stepped up in this one. Fred Warner had a really nice pick six. Offense was able to get some key guys back, Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, and they were able to do the thing. Jawan Jennings had a nice catch, and the 49ers look poised to go on a winning streak now, even though CMC will be out a bit, even though he is starting rehab, so that's huge for the 49ers. Jordan Mason had another solid day. At 9, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and they have a Monday Night Football game against the Detroit Lions. That'll be an interesting one. We have the Detroit Lions winning that football game, though. 28-18, I believe, is the prediction. But the Seahawks are 3-0. Their wins aren't the most impressive, but they're looking to make moves this season. At 8, we have the Houston Texans. They are coming off a 24-20 escape win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were just able to escape that win. The Texans' offense has looked kind of sloppy this season. It just hasn't been the same. Tank Dell is injured, though, so that hasn't helped. CJ Stroud, I wouldn't say it's a sophomore slump, but he definitely is taking a bit of a step back. But that's not too surprising from a second-year guy or the book might be out on. He's going to have to make some adjustments throughout his season against the rest of the league. But DeMeco Ryans is a heck of a coach, and there should be enough trust in him to right the ship. At 7, we have the Buffalo Bills coming off a blowout loss against the Baltimore Ravens 35-10 on the road. The Buffalo Bills are still one of the better teams in football, but they looked really poor tonight. They looked anemic. Play calling was poor from Joe Brady. Josh Allen just didn't look right, especially under pressure. Josh Allen seemed to really struggle outside of that one play to Khalil Shakir, which set up the touchdown on first and goal. So the Bills, just a very sloppy game on both sides of the ball, and they'll have to clean it up. Sean McDermott knows that. At 6, we have the Detroit Lions, and they play a Monday Night Football game against the Seattle Seahawks. We have the Lions winning that game 28-10. They are coming off a nice win at the Arizona Cardinals 28-13, so they'll look to keep that momentum going. We'll see if they can get some offense going. Jared Goff has been up and down at times this season, but the defense looks really good, led by guys like Alex Anzalone, Lee McNeil, and Carlton Davis. At 5, we have the Baltimore Ravens coming off that 35-10 win against the Buffalo Bills. They looked dominant in every facet of the game. The run game, the passing game even looked better than the Bills. The defense was dominant. They were really dominant in the trenches. There's no doubt about that. They were much quicker than the Bills. You could tell. I mean, if the Ravens and Bills face off in the playoffs, it's going to be a tough matchup with the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens have a lot of advantages against them. We saw that tonight, and they outcoached the Bills by quite a margin tonight. So give credit to John Harbaugh and staff. They were able to cook up a great game plan. At 4, we have the Washington Commanders. Time to respect the Commanders. They're 3-1, coming off a 42-14 win at the Arizona Cardinals. Their only loss is against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1. They got blown out 37-20, but that was a Week 1 game. Jayden Daniels' first game of his career. He's showing strides, throwing the ball down the field. He did have one interception today, but was very accurate once again. He can still really run the football, and he might be another Lamar Jackson type quarterback. He's really tough to stop, and they're just not punting much with Jayden Daniels in the mix. Tress Way's probably happy. There's not much stress on him as there was when guys like Sam Howell and Taylor Heineke were starting. So Commanders look really good, and they face the Cleveland Browns at home next week, and they'll be a favorite in that one. At 3, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are coming off a dominant 33-16 win against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. They looked pretty poor against the Denver Broncos last week, but that Broncos defense has turned out to be legit as it was showed in the Jets game. So maybe it's not as a bad loss as you think. Their defense is struggling in that game, but they had a lot of injuries. If the Bucs can get healthy, they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFL, and they look like the favorite in the NFC South right now. Baker Mayfield's playing great football, and Todd Bowles is doing a heck of a job. And this is without Dave Canales. At 2, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're coming off a narrow 17-10 win against the Chargers. Maybe they shouldn't be top 2 with how sloppy they've been, despite being 4-0, but it is an Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes-led team. We know Patrick Mahomes didn't look great today. He hasn't looked great really in any of the games this season, but Chiefs find ways to win. Xavier Worthy made a great play on a 54-yard touchdown, which was much likely the difference in that game. But there is some tough news for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are expected to lose Rashee Rice for the season due to a torn ACL. He ran into Patrick Mahomes after a tackle on an interception in the first quarter, and that is just very brutal. It's a brutal turn. It kind of reminds me of when Anthony Schwartz ran a poor route against the Houston Texans in Week 2 of the 2021 season, and Baker Mayfield tore his labrum and looked poor the rest of the season. So The Kansas City Chiefs, you don't want to lose Rashee Rice, but it looks like they're going to, and they're probably going to have to trade for a receiver. Maybe a guy like Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams, Darius Slayton, or Jalen Hyatt from the Giants could be in their interest. And at 1, we have the most dominant team so far, the Minnesota Vikings. They look good on offense. They look good on defense. Kevin O'Connell looks like the coach of the year. Brian Flores will probably be a head coach. Maybe might just want to make Brian Flores the coach of the year at this point. He seems like the leading guy, although Kevin O'Connell's done a great job resurrecting Sam Darnold here. Justin Jefferson is still making an impact despite Sam Darnold being the guy. Sam Darnold will be good for an interception or two here and there, but he's been very efficient nonetheless for the most part. And their pass game has really opened up their run game here, even though it wasn't the most efficient today. But the Minnesota Vikings look like the most dominant team in football right now. And the only thing that's letting the Vikings down is they're probably not going to have Brian Flores next season coaching their defense. If they do, that's great. Maybe they do because of the lawsuit he placed a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago it was, which kind of gave other teams a sour taste and his relationship with the past player like Tua. But if the Vikings are able to keep Brian Flores in the near future, his schemes are crazy, as Brock Purdy said. They're going to have a lot of success around him and Kevin O'Connell. Looking at this Vikings team, they are elite right now, 4-0. So, and I had one last week. People called me crazy. Some people said it was the right move. It looked like the right move for sure. So I appreciate everyone being here. Sports Expert here. Please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Turn on the post notification bell. Like the video. Comment what you think. I would really appreciate that. So we will be posting a lot more videos. We'll be posting picks video as well. We'll be posting a mock draft more than likely and such. So yeah, I appreciate everyone being here. Sports Expert here. I'm out, guys. Peace. And we'll have more content, of course, in the upcoming week other than that.